This is where things get interesting. $200,000 sounds like a serious budget, enough to get a real boat, something you can actually live on. But once you start looking at trawlers, you realize pretty quickly, not all boats in this range are even close to the same. Some are built for long, slow cruising across open water. Others are designed more like floating apartments, focused on space and comfort. And choosing the wrong one can completely change your experience on the water. So in this video, we're going to break down 5 trawlers you can find around the $200,000 mark. And more importantly, which one actually makes sense for the way you want to live. Let's start with one of the most recognizable names in the trawler world, the Grand Banks 42 Classic. This is the kind of boat that still shapes people's idea of what a true trawler should be. It has the traditional lines, the warm interior, and the kind of layout that makes long stays on board feel realistic instead of romantic only on paper. One of the biggest strengths of the Grand Banks 42 is how livable it feels. The separate cabins give you privacy. The salon feels like a real living space, and the overall layout makes everyday life on board much easier than you might expect from a boat of this age. Out on the water, it also offers more flexibility than many people assume. At slower cruising speeds, it feels comfortable and composed, but it can also move faster when needed, which gives it a nice balance between efficiency and practicality. Another reason this boat has stayed relevant for so long is the way it feels underfoot. The side decks are usable, the handholds are where they should be, and the whole design gives you the sense that this boat was built for real cruising, not just marina life. Of course, most Grand Banks 42s on the market today are older boats, so condition matters a lot more than the badge on the hull. Things like wiring, fuel tanks, and engine history need close attention. But if you find a solid, well-cared-for example, the Grand Banks 42 Classic still feels like one of the smartest ways to enter the trawler lifestyle at this price point. Now let's move to something a little more modern and a lot more lifestyle-focused, the Mainship 430. If the Grand Banks feels like a traditional trawler, the Mainship 430 feels more like a boat designed around everyday living. The difference shows up the moment you step inside. Bigger windows, a brighter salon, and a layout that feels open instead of enclosed make this boat immediately appealing for anyone thinking about spending real time aboard. One of the biggest strengths of the Mainship 430 is simple comfort. It feels less like an old school cruising boat and more like a practical home on the water. That makes it especially attractive for couples who care about space, light, and ease of use more than classic trawler character. It also tends to be easier to live with from an ownership standpoint. Systems are generally more modern, the layout is straightforward, and the boat doesn't feel like it constantly asks for extra effort just to stay enjoyable. On the water, the Mainship 430 gives you useful flexibility. You can run it at slower cruising speeds and keep things efficient, but you also have the option to move faster when you need to. That makes a difference on longer coastal runs, changing weather days, or any time you just want to cover more distance. And then there's the flybridge, which is one of this boat's biggest advantages. On many examples, it feels like a second living area, and that adds a lot to the liveaboard experience. It's not the kind of boat you buy for hardcore offshore ambitions, and it doesn't try to be. But for coastal cruising, full-time living, and buyers who want comfort without giving up too much practicality, the Mainship 430 makes a very strong case for itself in this price range. The Marine Trader 38 is a very different kind of trawler value, and that's exactly why it belongs on this list. It doesn't have the prestige of a Grand Banks, and it doesn't feel as modern or polished as something like the Mainship 430. But what it does offer is a lot of usable boat for the money, especially for buyers who care more about space, simplicity, and long-term livability than brand reputation. One of the reasons the Marine Trader 38 has stayed relevant for so long is that it gives you the kind of layout people actually need to live aboard. There's enough separation between spaces to make daily life feel manageable, and the overall design tends to favor practicality over style. This is also the kind of boat that appeals to buyers who are willing to accept a little age and character in exchange for value. You're not buying flash here, you're buying room, function, and a platform that can still make sense if the goal is slow cruising and comfortable time on board. On the water, the Marine Trader 38 is more about pace than performance. It's not trying to be fast, and that's fine. Boats like this are built around steady movement, simple systems, and the idea that getting there comfortably matters more than getting there quickly. Of course, with older Marine Traders, condition matters a lot. Build quality, maintenance history, and upgrades can vary significantly from one boat to another. That means shopping carefully is a big part of getting this one right. But if you find a solid example, the Marine Trader 38 can be one of the more practical and underrated trawler-style liveaboard options anywhere near this budget. Next up is the DeFever 44, and this is the point where the list starts to feel a little more serious. The DeFever has a reputation for being the kind of boat that was built with real cruising in mind. It feels heavier, more substantial, and more purpose-driven than a lot of boats in this price range, and that changes the whole ownership experience. One of the biggest things the DeFever 44 offers is presence. Step aboard, and it feels like a boat that was meant to go places, not just sit in a marina looking good. The layout tends to feel solid and practical, with a lot of usable deck space and an overall sense of confidence in the design. Inside, it leans classic rather than modern, but in the right way. There's warmth to it, real character, and the kind of layout that still works well for long-term living, if you value substance over trendiness. Underway, the DeFever is more about steady movement than excitement. It's the kind of boat that rewards patience. It doesn't need to be fast to feel capable. And that calm, planted feel is a big part of why people are still drawn to them. Another strong point is that many owners appreciate how serviceable these boats can be. On older cruising boats, access matters, and the DeFever tends to appeal to buyers who want something that feels robust and understandable, not overly complicated. The downside is pretty obvious. Most boats in this range are older, and with a DeFever, age, upkeep, and individual condition matter a lot. But if you find a good one, the DeFever 44 still stands out as a genuinely capable liveaboard cruiser with real long-term appeal. Last on the list is the Kadey-Krogen 42, and in a lot of ways, this is the boat for buyers who take the cruising part very seriously. The Kadey-Krogen 42 has long been respected as a true long-range trawler. It isn't flashy, and it doesn't try to win people over with modern styling or oversized living spaces. What it offers instead is something a lot of experienced cruisers value even more: purpose. This is the kind of boat that feels built around the idea of going somewhere far away, slowly, safely, and without drama. The raised pilot house, the traditional layout, and the overall design all reflect that mindset. It feels calm, deliberate, and focused. One of the big appeals here is efficiency and range. Boats like this are designed to keep moving without turning every trip into a fuel calculation. That changes the way you think about cruising. You stop thinking only in terms of the next marina and start thinking more in terms of distance, timing, and destinations. The interior is warm, traditional, and practical. It may not feel as bright or open as some of the more lifestyle-focused boats on this list, but that's part of the trade-off. The Kadey-Krogen is less about impressing you in the first 5 minutes and more about proving itself over time. And that really sums up the whole boat. It's not for everyone. If you want speed, a modern condo-style interior, or a more casual ownership experience, there are easier choices. But if your idea of a trawler is something honest, capable, and built with real cruising in mind, the Kadey-Krogen 42 still makes a very compelling case around this budget. So that's the reality of a $200,000 trawler budget. You're not buying perfection, but you are buying real choices. Some of these boats lean toward comfort, some toward character, and some toward serious cruising capability. The key is figuring out which one actually fits the way you want to live on the water. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments which one of these trawlers you'd actually choose.